Thank you, Deborah. Good evening. We're a little rusty. Sorry, we're a little rusty. It's been about 5 weeks since our last meeting. Good evening and welcome to the September 4th, 2019 regular council meeting. We apologize for the delay. We're a little bit behind. We had quite a few items in camera and just a few procedural things before we get started tonight. Before I start looking at the public hearing, or we start discussing the public hearing, I'd like to just take a quick moment and offer a welcome back to Councillor Terry Cox. She's returning from a medical leave. And I just want to say that we're glad to see you. We have missed your strength and your fire and your energy on council. But I also want to say that I'm really grateful to Deputy Mayor Montgomery, who stepped in and took your place on the Wheatland Housing Board. So that is much appreciated. As I've said before, the work that this council has done on all its committees is very impressive, because you give up a lot of your evening time to go to various committee meetings that help make this town a lot better. So welcome back. It'll be great to see you on your committees again. And again, Councillor Montgomery is representing you, and tomorrow we'll be driving to Edmonton for a meeting with the province regarding some things with Wheatland Housing. At this time, Deb, are we going right into public hearing?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call to order the public hearing of council pertaining to bylaw number 19-13. This public hearing is held pursuant to the Municipal Government Act RSA 2000, Chapter M26, and amendments thereto. And I hereby declare the public hearing related to bylaw number 19-13 now open at 7:12 p.m. May I have a motion to adopt the public hearing agenda?
I would so move, Your Worship.
Thank you. You've heard the motion from Councillor Peterson. All in favor? And the motion is adopted. Legislative Services?
Thank you, Your Worship.
I'm sorry.
We're good. Bylaw 1913 amends the existing land use bylaw for this area to allow for development. Bylaw 1913 was published in the Strathmore Times on August 9th, 2019 and August 16th, 2019.
Thank you, Deborah. The following rules of conduct will be followed during the public hearing. Presentation should be brief and to the point, and shall be limited to 3 minutes in length. The order of presentation shall be the administration, followed by those in favor of the bylaw. Those opposed to the bylaw will follow that, and then any other person deemed to be affected by the bylaw. Council may ask questions of the speakers after each presentation for clarification purposes, and there will be no debating the bylaw. To date, no letters of submission have been received. And does the administration have any comments? And welcome, Chuck. Welcome, Mr. Proctor.
Thanks, everybody. So we have received an application over in Edgefield to redesignate approximately 2.3 hectares of land for future residential development. The land use change is the land use currently existing there is a mixture of R1N, which is our narrow lot, and R2, which is our side-by-side duplex low-density lot. And it's a very minor change that's being proposed. We're essentially flipping some of the blocks there. We gave this area land use in 2015 when we did this school, and these are minor changes. Just to give kind of a brief picture of the area, the red circle there is Edgefield right next to the new school. The proposed land use, excuse me, for this bylaw is for Edgefield Phase 2. And then we can see a more detailed map there. So the brown color is your R2 lots, and your kind of orangey color is your R1N lots. So there is current land use existing there. We zoned some land in 2015, but we're just making minor changes to this at this time. So again, it's to accommodate a future residential phase, approximately 65 lots. We're responding to an application. The developer has indicated that there's been a change in market conditions. The density and largely the servicing is unaffected by this proposal. And all the proposed amendments at this time are in line with the Edgefield Area Structure Plan and the current Strathmore Municipal Development Plan. We're working on a concurrent subdivision, and we're excited for Edgefield over there. With that being said, we're recommending that council give second and third reading to the bylaw tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Is there anyone present who supports the bylaw who wishes to speak? Is there anyone present who opposes the bylaw and wishes to speak? Is there anyone present deemed to be affected by the bylaw who wishes to speak? Do the councillors have any further questions? Councillor Sobel.
Thank you. Mr. Proctor, if I could ask you one question. It sounds rather simplistic, but when you say there's been a notice in the change in demand, what are you, what does that refer to, if you could?
That's a great question, Councillor Sobel. So we were just responding to the developers. He's indicated that there's been a change in market conditions. The developer is here. I wonder if he's interested in mentioning why he wants this change more specifically, Bill, or would that be okay, Councillor Sobel?
Would appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
So, in consultation with the builders and in selling in these lots here, these future lots, that's why the rearrangement of moving some of the duplexes and some of the narrow lots around, just so that they were more amicable to the builders and where they wanted to purchase.
So just to clarify, so this is not necessarily a purchaser's request, but it's a builder's request?
Yep.
It would make it presumably easier for them to...
For them to sell to end users there. Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Sobel, and thank you for the clarification. Seeing no other questions from council, I hereby declare this public hearing for bylaw number 19-13 closed at 7:17 p.m. And oh, there it is. I always forget to look up there. I hereby declare this public hearing for bylaw number 19-13 closed at 7:14 p.m. and will accept a motion to adjourn. Councillor Corbeil.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. You've all heard the motion. All in favor? And the public hearing is adjourned. Which brings us to our regular portion of the public council meeting. And item 2 is confirmation of agenda. Deputy Mayor Montgomery.
With the permission of council, I would like to modify item 9.1. If we could, I would like to move that this evening, please. And I guess I'll move the agenda with that amendment.
So you're saying it's no longer a notice of motion? You'd like to?
Yeah, I'll move that instead of a notice of motion. It's the actual motion.
Okay.
So just for clarification again, Deb, and I hate to put you on the spot, but would we be voting on that separately to see if that item can be brought in to the agenda? Okay, does everyone understand? Bob, your Councillor Sobel?
Yeah, I'm confused. You can't bring a motion at the meeting.
It's a notice of motion, and he's,
But I'm sorry. His motion is to remove the item from the agenda, which is fine. But then he would have to make it, if he's going to be speaking about it today, you'd have to make another amendment to the agenda to add that item.
Okay,
To tonight's item as an actual item and not a notice of motion. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think I see your point. So, Deputy Mayor Montgomery, the first part of the motion would be then to delete. This is a trick. This is a tough one, Deb. Administration, Mr. Thackeray, do you have any guidance for us here?
You have to turn yours off.
Sorry.
Yes, Your Worship, through the chair. What I understand is the desire this evening is for an item which is currently on the agenda as 9.1, which is a notice of motion to be considered at a future meeting. Should council wish and permit, that council may choose, with the permission of council and a motion, to hear that issue tonight. And that would require council supporting that. And you could have the leave of council through amend, so you're amending the agenda and adding a new item to the agenda. Thank you.
So Deputy Mayor Montgomery, your motion is already on the floor then? Or,
Yeah, so I'd like to do what Mr. Thackeray.
okay, and for the people in the crowd and people at home, this is a first for us. We haven't had a situation where an agenda change concerns a notice of motion possibly being discussed on the same night it comes forward. So, again, James, his motion, can he withdraw that motion and then word it differently? Would that help, Deputy Mayor Montgomery?
Sure.
I hope so.
So, yeah, I guess to clarify, I would like to amend the agenda to allow for a motion to be considered tonight. And I guess if,
To remove 9.1
Yes.
as it stands,
Ye-
and to add a new 9.1.
yeah,
Which is the motion.
okay, so yeah, I'll remove 9.1 and add a new 9.1, which will be requesting a decision, please.
Is that clear enough for you, Deb, and for James? Okay, so that's a motion we need to vote on separately as of now. All right, you've all heard the motion, and hopefully it's clear to everyone. I think we all understand it. It's something that's never happened before to us, and that's always fun after a little bit of a break. You've all heard the motion. All in favor? And the motion is carried. So now, Deputy Mayor Montgomery, you're going to just ask something to be amended, added to the agenda then, your new item then. You did.
Okay, so now I'll move the agenda as amended.
We just have a few items that I think we have to do.
Sorry.
So now we've got that part added where we're going to consider that motion regarding committee of the whole meetings and the time proposition. That's going to be added to the agenda. So will that stay as the new 9.1 then? Okay, so we have a new 9.1. Thank you. The other thing, Deborah, did you want to speak to that, or should I? We're talking about. I'd like to have item 10.1, bylaw number 19-13, Edgefield Phase 2 land use amendment that we just dealt with in public hearing. I'd like to move that to 3.2, just because I can't force the people to sit through one of our meetings to have it dealt with. So that's the one I'm bringing forward. Are there any other amendments to the agenda that you'd like to bring forward? Is there anything from administration? Seeing none, then I'm looking for a motion.
I move the agenda as amended.
Thank you. You've all heard the motion from Councillor Corbeil. All in favor? And the motion is carried. Which brings us to item 3.1. And I'm grateful and happy to see three of the members from the Strathmore Fun Runners here tonight. Many of us on council and the town staff and administration, and I know having spoken to James and some of my fellow councillors, we've enjoyed the Strathmore Fun Runners show and shine for many years. I've been going for a long time. Many times I've gone there and started to dream, and then my wife has brought me back to reality, and I'm not allowed to buy one of the vehicles that I've found. But on behalf of the town and Strathmore Town Council, we'd like to thank your group for 26 years of bringing visitors to our town, showcasing Kinsman Park and our town, and for providing another very popular event that our residents can all take a part in. And it's another factor in what makes Strathmore a great community. And it's our hope that we can continue to work together to help grow your weekend's activities. because your group's event, and I know I was able to get clarification on this, your group's event over the years also helps support many service groups in our town and area. For example, the Youth Club, which is now the Hub, the Legion, and the various food banks. So you've done a great job in supporting some of these service groups as well as putting on a wonderful event. So congratulations to the Fun Runners for 26 years of community service. And my only comment is if you did bring some of your rides tonight, we'd all appreciate it if you wouldn't do a burnout out of our parking lot tonight. We'd kind of like that not to happen with Trantier. So congratulations, and we'd like to have you come forward, you and your members. And if you want to say a few words, we'd love to have you say something too.
Don't feel you have to.
Todd, if you wouldn't mind coming up just to say a couple of words, we'd love to have you.
It's probably, I gotta turn this on? No, it's on. I'm Todd Blakeney with the Strathmore Fun Runners Car Club, and I guess our membership to date is roughly around 35, and probably a half a dozen, like the town here, that shows up on regular meetings and partakes in all the boring meetings that we usually have throughout the year to plan one event for the whole year. So, but on behalf of myself and members of the Fun Runners Car Club, we all extend what you just said tonight, and we really appreciate using the Kinsman Park, and we'll do everything we can to make it bigger and better, and try to keep it friendly in that way, legal friendly. Yeah, can't promise that. Yeah.
And I will be contacting you or someone in your group as far as meeting with the Hub and its coordinator. We've got some exciting ideas, I think, moving forward to add a neat event to the Saturday night of your program.
Sure.
So I'll contact you.
More vehicles that's always been our goal, to extend it to us. I mean, we've hit 300, and with so many shows that are on the day of our show, we're sitting around that 150 to 200, and we'd like to see it back up to the 3 and plus, and some of the ideas that you have are more than welcome. So, yeah, we have a good location and we want to keep it. So, yeah. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
And if we could get you and your members to come forward, council, if you wouldn't mind joining me for a photo op, that would be wonderful. Thanks, Carla. So we'll try to gather, and we can get you guys in here. We can hopefully get this fire going. You might have to turn a bit sideways and inhale.
Or get the taller photographer.
Yeah, I need a stool. Smile. There we go. Thank you. Perfect.
Thanks very much.
I think when you have that night,
You
one
have
of the nights
headquarters
that
where you have the meetings.
there's 5 or 7
Put
talking
that
about having a
baby
blue
up.
dress. Wouldn't that fit
Thanks very
great?
much.
Thanks a lot, I appreciate it. I think that'd be an awesome add-on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I knew you were gonna say that. I told him.
Once again, thanks, gentlemen, and you're free to save yourselves. We appreciate everything you've done. All right, that brings us to our amended item that we've moved forward. 10.1 becomes 3.2, and we are doing the bylaw number 19-13 Edgefield Phase 2 Land Use Amendment, which came up in the public hearing. Mr. Proctor.
Thank you, members of council and your worship, for moving us up. This agenda item is a bylaw to amend the land use bylaw. It brings 65 lots online in Edgefield. We're proposing a mixture of the R2 low-density land use district and the R1 and the narrow lot land use district for this bylaw. It currently has land use, and it's just a minor change, as Bill mentioned, to accommodate some builders and hopefully bring some new lots and houses to town next year. We're recommending second and third reading tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion or questions coming? Yes, right, you're absolutely right. We've got first reading on the floor from last time. Yeah, oh, it's going to be added to this too. I think, yeah. Okay, we'll have to quickly discuss that. Sorry, Mr. Proctor. We have first reading from previous times, so now I'm looking for a motion for second reading. Councillor Corbeil? Deputy Mayor Montgomery, sorry.
Thanks. I will move the council give second reading to bylaw number 19-13.
Thank you. And now that we have a second reading on the floor, is there any discussion on that or questions or comments? None? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Councillor Corbeil?
Move the council give third and final reading to bylaw number 19-13.
Thank you. Thank you. You've all heard the motion. All in favor? The motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Chuck. Which brings us to item 4, delegations. I don't believe we have any delegations here tonight. Thank you for coming and your presentation and clarification. We have no delegations tonight, so we move on to item 5, confirmation of minutes. 5.1, confirmation of the July 17th, 2019 regular council meeting minutes. Councillor Corbeil?
I move the council adopt the July 17th, 2019 regular council meeting minutes as presented.
Thank you very much. You've all heard the motion on the floor. All in favor? Motion is carried. I believe we have no tabled items. Item 6. Item 7, items from administration. 7.1, Sports Center capital update. Mark Pretzlaff, welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. You should have received for your information, a report on the spending of the capital updates at the Sports Center. I'm prepared to speak to these, or if you wish to proceed directly to questions, I'm here for anything that you may need.
Councillor Sobel.
I'm ready with a question, unless council wishes more from Mark. I guess not. Mark, on page 2 of your report, 4th paragraph down, in regards to currently the boards and glass are stored in exterior storage area outside of the sports center, et cetera. Second line there, it says, a better alternative for the lacrosse boards and glass are still being researched.
Yes, that's correct. Through the chair, we're looking at, as I mentioned here, a portable trailer or system like that we could be wheeled in and out right through one of the overhead doors that would allow for easier access and removal of the boards as opposed to going across the facility and then outside into the exterior storage.
But are you talking about different boards?
Nope, same boards. So maybe that's some confusion
Okay,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, so a different
Okay.
storage.
It's just a better transportation of the boards to facilitate
Yeah, so.
and storage thereof.
Correct, so just wheeling
Okay.
a trailer system into the facility.
Yeah.
Offloading them, setting them up, and then wheeling it back in and out. That's what we're
got what you-
looking at.
I understand now. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mark from council? Sorry, Councillor Bauer.
If I may, please, thank you, Your Worship. Mark, if I may just ask you, I'm just interested in your opinion on the purchase of the plastic lacrosse boards and the glass, because you were so good at constantly being so flexible through that entire process and going with the information that you were receiving at the time of what would be the best use for that space. Are you happy with those boards and the glass as it sits?
I think it provides a great flexible option for the facility, recognizing that the needs of lacrosse are unique. and recognizing that the needs of the other sports are different, I think it does provide that flexible alternative for a multi-use facility. Only time will tell how they withstand both the install and the removal on a repeated basis. It is a product that's limited use in Canada. So again, time will tell on that one. Ultimately, I think we will continue to make it work for all our users so that the facility is best operated to utilize it at satisfying all the needs of the public.
And did you need to contact RIDEN for the disassembly of the glass as well?
No, that was very fortunately, we were able to rely on the manpower of the fire department who helped with the initial installation of the boards and the removal of both. So I don't anticipate them, we need to go back to RIDEN to install it. The boards have now been numbered, the glasses have now been numbered, and the more frequently that we do it, I think it will speed things up. What we're now trying to work on is trying to develop our own crew so that we're not relied upon the fire department for their resources. Although it's great to have them available, and we're greatly appreciative to their help.
And you were able to Tetris everything into that shed?
Knock on wood, yes. Right now, everything's being stored in there, and it's actually functioning quite well, but it does limit our opportunities to do anything else because that space is utilized. And that's why we're continuing to do some research as to different alternatives so that we can make use of that. There are other things that we want to look into for the facility, whether it's a floor covering over the artificial turf so we could host major functions in there, Remembrance Day and things like that. So ultimately, whenever you build a facility like this, storage is never really a factor because it does cost money to build stuff and you don't really get a value for it. But ultimately, we're going to try to do our best to ensure that we continue to utilize the facility to meet the needs, and we'll make it work however we go.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bauer. Councillor Sobel.
Thank you. I really appreciate this last point being brought up, and I happen to be in the facility when the fire department was putting that together. And I'll admit there was a little bit of blue smoke floating around, but they put it out quickly, and I think they did an amazing job. So I'd appreciate it if the chief could pass on council's thanks for all the work they did. That was a lot of work to do in especially the first take.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sobel. Councillor Peterson.
Your Worship, if everyone's finished with their questions, I would be happy with a motion, to make a motion. And I would move that council accept this report with gratitude as information.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. You've all heard the motion. All in favor? And the motion is carried. And that brings us to item 7.2, which is almost fitting, the cannabis and smoking update. Page 13. Welcome, Mr. West. Kind of smoke that might have been going on.
It might be blue. Good evening, Your Worship and Council. Welcome back. Tonight, I have before you the return information that was requested earlier this year on our tracking of the implementation of the cannabis and smoking project. After our bylaw 1822 and 1821 were passed. I am prepared to make a presentation, or I am here for any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. West. Councillor Peterson.
I just wanted to say thanks for the report, but what I really want to acknowledge is the brochure that you did. I really think that is great. And I've had just a brief look, but I just thought it was excellent. And your facility with brochures is almost equal to your facility with surnames. It's really good.
I'm trying to avoid that really badly here, but if, with your permission, Council and Your Worship, oh man, I'd like to hand these out. I did think that they. Can I give these to you, Councillor?
Councillor.
Just Councillor. I'm going no farther than that.
Just a follow-up to that, if I might, Your Worship. Yeah. I know.
No.
Just in a follow-up to this excellent piece of information, Councillor Bauer brought to our attention some things that she'd seen to promote the disposing of cigarette butts while she was in Europe. And I just would like to point out that I thought that was brilliant and would make a great adjunct to this at some point. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Through the chair to Councillor Pearson, absolutely, we agree. There's lots of opportunities to grow in this area. Sorry, there's lots of opportunities for us to improve on our public education, and with Carla's excellent help and Ty, we'll continue to take every opportunity.
I think there's some confusion. They're building their brochure.
Scissors?
It's like Build-A-Bear.
That's why you don't hand out things at council.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. Councillor Sobel, followed by Deputy Mayor Montgomery.
Thank you, Your Worship. So one question, one short statement. Trent, the $61,000 dollars that we received from the Cannabis Transition Program grant, have we spent anything over and above that in this process?
No, sir.
Thank you. And I guess I've been asked why we're doing this, why the quote-unquote heavy-handedness in regards to smoking has come about in our municipality, and I just want to remind everybody that according to the American Lung Association, secondhand smoke causes in the States approximately 7,300 deaths and from lung cancer and 34,000 deaths from heart disease each year. Between 1964 and 2014, 2.5 million people died from exposure to secondhand smoke. In Canada, secondhand smoke causes 800 deaths from lung cancer and heart disease in non-smokers. So I think one of our responsibilities as a council is in regards to the safety of our citizens. And when I think about what we're doing here, it is focused solely on education and in safety of our citizens. I have absolutely no issue with people who want to smoke, but I think it's my business that I don't have to inhale their smoke, and I don't like to see our citizens inhaling it when they do not wish to. So thank you for your efforts on this. I appreciate it, and I hope that our businesses continue to respond favorably to this program.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll pass that on to Michael and the municipal enforcement staff.
Thank you, Councillor Sobel. And just in a timely addition to that, I just heard today that the state of Michigan has voted to ban the sale of flavored e-cigarettes as of today. So they just made that, and they're hoping other states will follow. They're finding that there's been an explosion in the use of flavored e-cigarettes in our youth, and with nicotine still being one of the ingredients, it's caused a real skyrocketing in problems that could affect these kids in a long way down the road. So that's something that's very interesting. Deputy Mayor Montgomery.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you very much, Trent, for doing this and for your work on improving the health of the community. So I have a question about the grant itself. Is there like a time that we have to spend that within, and I guess how long do we have?
Through the chair to Councillor Montgomery, thank you, Councillor, excellent question. We have till the end of this year to be fully expended those funds. We have to report by the end of March on what we use those funds for. Mm-hmm. So we were able to, as I mentioned in the report, we were able to extend Michelle's hours from 0.5 to 1.0 right till the end of the year by utilizing this grant funding as part of that education and getting out and knocking on doors. So that's going to consume over half of it, just over half of it. The remainder will be in stockpiling of signage, so that as new business come on board, we'll be able to provide them with the signs. That was part of the positive outcome of the education campaign, was not just going out there and telling them that they couldn't, but here you can, now go buy the signs. We helped them with all of that, Michael and his group, and we gave them the signs. So there was no cost to them, and that was a big difference in how the acceptance was picked up.
Okay, yeah, it's well, that's really good to hear, actually, and I'm really glad that we're able to make use of outside funds for this. One question I have is just related to, I really appreciate you kind of calculating the time and money that we've kind of focused on this, and I just was hoping as well to see something to detail like the work that went into it prior to it being passed even, like, so just kind of your time and effort in building the bylaw. And so if you could maybe do that for the next report, that'd be great. And then as well, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Montgomery. For sure, we'll include that in the 2020 on our regular quarterly. Because then in our regular quarterly in 2020, we'll be able to give you final figures plus report on what we spent all of the grant money on.
Okay.
As part of preparing for and going to government to give them that report as well.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. And one other thing, I just wanted, I'll have to speak to you afterwards. It's just about a specific instance of the smoking bylaw that I'm kind of curious about. So,
okay.
Thank you, though.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Montgomery. Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Your Worship.
I think he's picking on both of us now.
Just you.
Oh!
Just you. Just for public, because there was nothing on the screen that they could see. I just wanted to point out, under your complaints that you received since the education has been implemented, only 10 complaints were received, mostly in the downtown area from business owners. Cannabis complaints, there was only 5 from one business, the remainder of the community residents in public areas, which means that you got complaints from residential houses smoking cannabis, correct?
That's
Not
correct.
downtown businesses.
That's correct.
Which we can't control. And the time spent that was addressing the complaints was only about an average of 30 minutes and was resolved very easily. Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we told our public that we were working on it and there wasn't that many complaints.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Trent, thank you so much for this report. I fully support improving the health of our residents and including children and other vulnerable people that are inhaling secondhand smoke. I have been looking since I've seen your signs all over on the town building, comparing them to other communities. And so what I'd like to know is, was it a deliberate decision not to put the bylaw on the no smoking signs? Because I've seen other communities that have listed the bylaw. I'm just wondering if that carries more weight or if it confuses the public, or you must have had some intention on that. So would you mind just speaking to that?
Well, thank you for that presumption that I had the intention, because I don't believe I did. I think that was a miss, actually.
Oh, okay.
I believe that we should have actually had the bylaw numbers on, but we were a little bit down the road as far as purchasing and ordering. And it might be something that we, as we get to the tail end of this grant funding, that we look at something that we are able to go back to the businesses, go back to our town buildings and include those bylaw numbers on, because I think it does add emphasis, not necessarily for those that are going to choose to do what they want to do, but it helps for those people who want to point out to them that they shouldn't do it and there's a bylaw.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of just a sign.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
All right, thank you very much. And Melanie said that I do have very nice printing. I could go and do them all with a Sharpie.
You're hired. We have a grant to cover that.
Thanks, Councillor Bauer. And one thing as we move forward and as this evolves with with the addition of edibles this fall, or the legalization of it and the availability as of December, we may see that this drops down as far as the smoking and vaping. Because in one of the documentaries I watched recently, talked about how this generation of millennials is not going to want to smoke or vape the product, that they're going to avoid things that are really unhealthy for their bodies, so.
I bet you seniors do too.
Pardon me? Seniors, yeah.
Should they go to them too?
Yeah. So, thank you again for your report and all
Thank
your
you, sir.
work done on this. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you, Council.
And that brings us to item 7. Oh, sorry, we need a motion to accept his information. Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that council accept this presentation as information.
Thank you very much. You've all heard the motion. All in favor? And the motion is carried. And that brings us to 7.3, the RCMP Regimental Ball. And Erica Takahashi, are you presenting on this tonight? Or is Councillor Sobel? Okay, thank you. Councillor Sobel.
Well, I will certainly speak to it, Your Worship. So in the agenda before you, we have a letter from the Strathmore RCMP and Strathmore Regional Victim Services Society, who are advising us that they will be hosting a regimental ball for Strathmore and area on October 26th, 2019. The event is a fundraiser to support victim services, and in their letter, they are requesting some support from the town in the amount of $5,000 for this event to sponsor the entertainment, decor, and photographer portion of the event. Just while I have the mic, I would just like to comment that the Regimental Ball is billed as a unique gala. It's an opportunity for the public to join the RCMP in a formal setting to experience the history and the culture of Canada's National Police Force. I find it encouraging that the members of this detachment have chosen to partner with the Strathmore District Victim Services to host this event, and note that one has not been held in Strathmore for many, many years. In fact, I can't find a year when it was last held. This is a community-focused event and will no doubt result in encouraging relationships between the community and the RCMP. With all proceeds going to victim services, a service that is needed far too often in our community, this appears to me to be a win-win scenario, and I firmly support this request. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you for the presentation and speaking to the topic, Councillor Sobel. Are there any Councillor Bauer?
I'm prepared to move a motion, Your Worship.
We could have a motion and then discussion following. So Councillor Bauer, if you'd like to make your motion.
Although I can't attend, I firmly support this, and I would like to recommend that council sponsor the 2019 RCMP Regimental Ball in the amount of $5,000, with the funds to be drawn from the council operating budget.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor, and discussion questions can follow. Councillor Cox?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through the chair to Councillor Sobel, who I should be asking? Can you answer for me? I just want to get it a little bit more out there. Tickets are available to the public, and do we have any idea how much they are? And is it anybody that can go?
I can certainly respond to the third question. That is, it is open to the public. Everyone is welcome to attend and encouraged to attend. Unfortunately, I don't know the price of the tickets, nor do I. I do know that it's being held at the Travel Lodge, and the date is October the 26th. And what was the other question that I couldn't answer? Yeah, no, unfortunately, I don't know, and whether they're on sale, I'm pretty sure they are on sale. My recommendation would be to go to the RCMP Strathmore and District Victim Services webpage, and I can tell you before the end of the meeting whether it's there, but I'm pretty sure that's where it is. I'll cover it up and at the end of under councillors' reports when I find it.
Tracy, would you like to jump in?
Yeah, I can answer those questions if you'd like. I just wanted to, because I was Googling really quickly. So tickets are available at the Strathmore RCMP detachment. Tickets are $85, and it is open to anyone who wishes to attend. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, councillors. And Tracy, Councillor Peterson.
Councillor Cox had something to add.
Councillor Cox.
So I'm wondering, could we add a link somewhere? Could we add a link somewhere so that we can promote this? Yeah, you bet. We can promote that. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla, and thank you, Councillor Cox. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do believe that it is inevitable that this council will be questioned as to why we choose to support this event when it falls outside the purview of our community investment strategy. And I think it's important to note that this council makes decisions based on what capacity such events have to contribute to provision in the community, and victim services is one of those. And so even though they do receive some support from one other major fundraiser, the Emergency Services golf tournament, they are always sorely strapped for money. And so this is an excellent opportunity to support this very, very broad community-based initiative, crisis response and support to victims of crime and tragedy. And for this reason, I'm very supportive. I'm sorry I'll be at a conference and I won't be able to attend, but I really am grateful that the Strathmore RCMP have decided to throw their full support behind victim services, and clearly by the letter we've received from Victim Services Program Manager along with the RCMP, I'm grateful that this initiative is occurring. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. So we do have a motion on the floor. You've all heard the motion on the floor. All in favor? And the motion is carried. Which brings us to item 7.4, Water Reserve Operating, page 21. And Mr. Teedy is presenting. Welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship. The recommended transfer shores up both the unrestricted surplus and the financial stabilization reserve for future needs. The water reserve, the operating water reserve of just over $1 million is no longer needed, as the town has 462,000 water capital reserve and a water offsite levy reserve of just over $2 million. The unrestricted surplus back in 2017 at the end of the year was $6,758,000. That was a combined balance with financial stabilization. That amount during the 2018 year found its way down to $2,617,000. The unrestricted surplus and financial stabilization was used to fund the purchase of tangible capital assets primarily, and to support a lower tax rate in the 2018 year, similar to what we had done and completed in 2017 and 2016. So this is an opportunity to allocate resources to both the unrestricted surplus and to the financial stabilization at this time to improve our standing in both of those areas. And those are my comments, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Teedy. Councillor Cox.
I'm ready, Your Worship, with the motion.
Okay, thank you.
I move that council authorize the transfer of the potable water reserve of $1,037,200 to the financial stabilization reserve in the amount of $500,000 and to unallocated surplus in the amount of $537,200.
Thank you very much for the motion. Now that we have a motion on the floor, there can be discussion as well. Councillor Peterson, did you have a?
No, I'm good.
Mr. Titi, could I just ask one question? I don't question necessarily the decisions before we vote as far as where it possibly could go. Was there any discussion to contribute anything to the infrastructure reserve that you've been talking about building to ready us for when MSI potentially is decreased?
I believe that would be a discussion that we could have in the fall workshop as opposed to doing it piecemeal at this time.
Okay, thank you. So we all have a motion on the floor. All in favor? And the motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Titi.
Thank you.
Which brings us to item 8, committee reports. Item 8.1, reports from councillors from committees on which they sit. And I believe we have one from the mayor, from Councillor Peterson tonight.
I have a few, Your Worship.
Okay,
Excuse me. I have a few, Your Worship.
thank you.
The first is Marigold. I've put a lengthy document in front of you, but what is important, relevant to Marigold is that the new building is on schedule. The project schedule is there with you at the back. A document that says the new building gives you some information on this very exciting initiative. The other thing that happened of some significant note with WID is the advocacy training that they are doing, and it's pretty impressive. Marigold has now launched their new website. I really encourage you to take a look at it. It is absolutely fantastic. It's so easy to use, and if you are a member of Marigold or of your local library, then Marigold as well, it is remarkable the amount of information that you are able to access, and for people of every age and background. If you have any questions about this, about the report, I encourage you to send them my way, and I'll find answers. But they are well on their way to getting this new building underway, and they're really excited about it. So we've seen some conceptual plans, and we're hopeful that in the spring it'll be ready to go. Wheatland Housing Management Board, I'm as Mayor Fuel said, grateful to Deputy Mayor Montgomery for stepping in, and I'm really happy that Councillor Cox is back too. We are going to meet with the minister, as Mayor Fuel said, tomorrow regarding our need for a new lodge in our community. So we're really appreciative of the support of all of Strathmore and communities in County of Wheatland. The Tourism Committee will be coming before Council in the third
Sorry to
meeting of the month.
interrupt, Councillor
Sorry.
Peterson.
Yeah.
Could I just go back
Yes.
to the
Yeah,
Wheatland
yeah,
Housing?
yes.
With Councillor Cox's return, that would mean that Deputy Mayor Montgomery would step back, but since he's been approved by the board, he can stand as an alternate in case there are problems?
She said he could.
Perfect. So Deputy Mayor Montgomery is ready, willing, and able to help out whenever he's needed with the Wheatland Housing and the seniors.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the Tourism Committee will be coming before Council, I believe in the third week of September, to ask for a slight change of mandate and to give you an update on the work that they've been doing, because in a few months' time, that committee has an end date in the new year, so we're looking forward to that. And what EMSA has not met over the summer. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. Councillor Sobel.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just one short report on the Chamber of Commerce. I continue to be impressed with the members of our board. We are executive director lists. We have no executive director at this point, and it's been amazing to see the members of the board just step in and take over the various duties of that person to maintain the chamber in the fashion to which it should be maintained. We have no problem getting volunteers, and we have 3 subcommittees: the events committee, a membership committee, and governance committee. All are working hard to bring forth a plan for the chamber's future, and in the very near future, people are going to start seeing programs and see the chamber being a little bit more aggressive in regards to supplying services to our business people in both our town and in the county. And lastly, we have been working on replacing an executive director, and the applications have now been received. Cutoff date was August 31st, and we should have a new person in place by October 1st, which is our goal. And that's all I have for the Chamber's report, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sobel. Sorry I yelled there. Are there any other reports? Then I guess we need a motion to accept. Councillor Corbeil, thank you very much.
I move the council accept the reports for information.
Thank you very much, Councillor Corbeil. You've all heard the motion. All in favor? And the motion is carried. Which moves us to Councillor Montgomery. Committee of the Whole meetings time change, which was the amended agenda item. Deputy Mayor Montgomery.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I will make the motion, and then I guess I'll speak to it. So I will move that council direct administration to bring back an amendment to procedural bylaw number 16-18 at the
September 11th.
Yeah, so I'll just read it the way it is, I guess. It should make sense, I guess. So I'll move the council direct administration to bring back an amendment to procedural bylaw number 16-18 at the September 18th, 2019 regular council meeting to change the time of the committee of the whole meetings to start at 1 p.m. every second Wednesday of each month. And to speak to that, so earlier this year, administration brought forward a report on the effect of changing, or like basically on the cost of having meetings in the evening that we would not be paying if it wasn't for having to cover the extra cost of having evening meetings. So from that, it was determined that on average, there was a cost of about over $5,000 per meeting extra that we were paying. And so my motion speaks to changing the committee of the whole meeting, which even though it makes up 1/3 of the meetings, it's likely that it actually makes up more than 1/3 of the additional cost of hosting the evening meetings. So I feel that it's a good step towards making a change that we should realize some real savings with. And some of the other effects that we might see, according to administration, there may be additional public that may be inclined to attend these meetings if it's during the daytime. We will also have possibly have more staff involvement, which will increase staff development. There will be an improved work-life balance for staff, and staff efficiency as well may be improved because they will not be required to sit in the meetings the whole time, and as well for council. Sometimes later meetings tend to be hard on us. So for those reasons and others that I'm not eloquent to talk about right now, I think it's a good idea to change at least the committee of the whole meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your speaking to the motion. Councillor Cox, comments?
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, I understand your passion for saving money, but I can't support the motion as you stand because I am one of the councillors on this board or council that works full-time. So I would actually not be able to attend any of them. Therefore, I can't support it. I would entertain an earlier start time. For example, 4 p.m. I would be losing a little bit of work, but I can handle losing an hour a day versus 4 hours a day. So that's my comments.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cox. Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Worship. My question to you, and I guess this will determine whether or not I'll support it as well with further questioning, is did you calculate any additional honorarium for the councillors that are coming to compensate us for times during the day when I myself would normally be working as well? Like, is there an increase that you're proposing for an honorarium to cover that for the, I guess it would be the next 5 or 6 months? 3 months.
Deputy Mayor Montgomery.
To speak to both of
No, that's okay, you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I guess to respond to both of those, I don't take it lightly at all, the sacrifice that some members of council have to make or would have to make for this. I didn't, my main focus was the saving of money in this, and so I did not account for any, let's say, any additional cost to council members that might be incurred. But I don't take it lightly, and I hope that the public will not take it lightly either, that there is a real cost associated, whether it's in the evening or in the daytime, there is a real cost associated to council members to attend these meetings. And I do, like I said, I don't take it lightly, that sacrifice, but at the same time, my main focus in this was the potential money that we could save, and so for that reason, I didn't include any sort of change in remuneration for this.
So the amount that would be saved, you approximate it to be about $5,000 per meeting? So in an annum, that would be 5 times 11?
Yeah, roughly.
Okay. I'm just having a difficult time supporting it because I took this position knowing that all the meetings were in the evening. And I wouldn't mind it on a pilot basis. Like if you were to include your motion that we would try it for a few months and see if it worked and then discuss it. But for it to be a continuous thing for the rest of the term, I would be hesitant about that.
Deputy Mayor Montgomery.
Thank you for, again, the chance to respond to that. So one of the things that I did consider with this was that if this is not a good fit, it will just take another motion by a council member to change this. And if the other thing I didn't want to do was to prevent people from the community from running for council in the future if this does not happen to kind of fit their schedule. And one of the things that I think will kind of ameliorate that is the fact that future councils, as well as this council, can change this if necessary, if this does not appear to be a good fit. So,
Councillor Cox.
Sorry, I'm just, I as well as Lorraine, when we ran for this position, when we were elected for this position, we were told this was a part-time position. As I'm sure that we all are very aware, our wages are not very much. So some of us do have jobs that we have to maintain, but you're also, I don't know how I can be kind about it because the savings, well, first of all, of $5,000 per meeting, and I haven't seen that. So I would like to see that. I would like to mull that over. I'm just not prepared to agree with you without it having some backup, I guess. And so I think that with some work we could maybe come to a compromise, but I can't support your motion as it stands.
Councillor Peterson.
Thank you. So I have my first question is to Legislative Services, and I understand that you may not be able to answer the question tonight. But there was a time that this council had legislated 2 mandatory meetings per month with I forget what we used to call the middle meeting. Was it a committee of the whole? How quickly we forget. What did we used to call that meeting? And a CAO, yeah, right, a CAO administrative meeting. And that was not a compulsory attended meeting. So my question to Legislative Services, is a committee of the whole considered a mandatory, not a mandatory, but a part of the legislative attendance of a councillor? And because before, we were only really required to attend 2 meetings a month. So I don't know where that stands now.
If I may, through the chair to Councillor Peterson, where the regulation now sits is in the procedure bylaws. So council starts the meeting as a council meeting and then resolves into committee of the whole. So it is a committee of the whole meeting, but it is still a regular council meeting.
Thank you for that clarification. And then I've had lots of opportunity to think about this and to do lots of study around it, and I'm intrigued by the opportunity to make that savings. But I think Councillor Cox offers a really good compromise by having one later in the day, but still in the day, because it would achieve the same thing. It would still achieve that saving by allowing our staff to be able to do those presentations at committees of the whole, and it would still be during the day. And I think that's a pretty
Could I
good
jump in there?
compromise. Yeah.
We would just, I think I'm seeing you're following your line of thought. We would just have to make sure that any staff presenter would hopefully be able to present near the start of the meeting. So, yeah. So I don't know if we'd be able to get enough of them done before the workday ends, but we could get some done for sure. That's a good point.
But Your Worship, we may be able to adapt that and to say, I know that I've watched our CEO work with his staff in a really compelling way that says, when he knows that they're going to work late, they can come in later. I'm sure that there are lots of things that our CAO would engender in the organization to make sure that works. So I am really in agreement with Councillor Montgomery on the opportunity to save money. I'm also really mindful of the fact that people entered into this pact, and believe me, I'd be really willing in a future council to look at it and in the future, prior to the election. But in the meantime, I would be interested in exploring that, and I think you bring up a good point, and I think that it could achieve the same thing, and that Councillor Montgomery is talking about. I don't agree with Councillor Montgomery on that it allows more public to attend. All the research that I've done show that 66.3% of our adult population in Alberta works Monday through Saturday in daytime jobs. And so, that sort of speaks to statistics that would indicate that the majority are still in that realm. But I am willing very definitely to look at this and to look at the costs associated and to try on something new that does not penalize the people that came into this organization or into this role with expectations. But I'd be willing to look at it.
Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also just want to point out that, and because again, I 100% support your look to saving money, but that's where I'm saying that there is a compromise. We can still save money. We might not be saving the full 5,000, but if we can cut that meeting down from 4 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock, there's 3 hours worth of savings there.
Even 3:30.
There is some serious savings there, correct? So.
Councillor Sobel, followed by Councillor Bauer.
So just random thoughts, we're talking over $100,000 here in savings, if those numbers are correct, and I have no reason to doubt those. We have to, for 2 years, yeah. Oh, 2 years. Yeah, for the rest of this term, for the rest of this our term. And I always, I think it's important, 2 things to remember. One is that the purpose of the committee of the whole is to receive reports, basically receive reports and information from administration. I mean, that's the majority of the things that we're receiving, and perhaps perhaps in regards to motions and public forums, we can maybe keep those at our two regular council meetings. I mean, I think there's some movement. I'm intrigued with the fact also that there are minutes maintained in Committee of the Whole, and that those are available to anybody that can't make it. We've all missed meetings. Lots of people miss lots of meetings. It just happens. But it's your responsibility to stay tuned. It's on film as well. It's videotaped. So there are ways to stay in tune with what is happening without necessarily being present. I just think the benefits of this and the benefits even to our staff in not having to sit here till 10 o'clock at night along with us, because some of us, by the way, are getting older, is a good thing. I think it's a good thing, and I'm intrigued by this. And one last thing I would say is we are not voting today on that motion.
No, it has to come back as a...
We are only voting to have it brought back to us. Just make a point of that. Thank you.
Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Councillor Sobel, for making that clarification. I thought that we were voting tonight. I have two questions. Councillor Montgomery, would you be able to let me know if you have spoken to any staff or to our CAO about making this change and how the staff feels about it? Are you laughing?
There's smiles all over the place.
Sorry. James, did you want to speak to that, or? Well, I was just going to say, so I'm basing all of my information on the report that was generated that says that there was an average of, it's over $5,000 per meeting that we're spending extra, and the points that I raised as positives were from the report, where where they said that there will be improved work-life balance for staff, and I believe that's probably true, but that's where I'm getting that information from.
If I could just weigh in, I haven't had a chance to speak yet, which is okay, but I really appreciate your bringing this up, and I see there's a lot of merits moving forward, especially as we become a bigger town and we start to have very weighty issues where it's important to have our staff. I think it would mean a big difference to them to be able to present during their regular workday, and you could get a lot accomplished that way. My concern is that what we need to consider, if you follow Councillor Sobel's line of discussion, changing the rules midstream is worrisome a little bit for me with people in working situations. The other thing we need to consider is if it's one committee of the whole meeting per month, it's great because we don't vote on things, but if there was a very important emergent item that had to be voted on, I think we have experience where we've seen one vote can be huge. If people have voted for Councillor Cox, she may not be able to then represent them or their ideas or what she knows to be important to that area if something comes up as an emergent item. I get that we can tailor most of those committee of the whole meetings so that there is no voting going on, so it could be an information gathering afterwards. But if something huge were to come up that we need to rise and report, it could affect her being able to vote. That's just something we haven't discussed yet. Councillor Corbeil.
Thank you, Worship. In some of those circumstances, I think like if we ever do go through with it, you have phoned in to vote.
Yeah, that's true.
So, there are ways, but that's just my 2 cents.
I can't phone into work from work.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Councillor Peterson.
I just have one last thing. One of the things that when this comes forward, if this motion should pass, And I would assume that, that our administration will assist this council in due diligence in terms of providing data on both sides of the issue. And I know that there is lots of research out there that speaks to both sides of this issue. And I really, really think, and I'd like to ask Deputy Mayor Montgomery what he thinks of Councillor Cox's suggestion about having, a 3:45 start to a meeting. Would that accomplish what you were wanting to achieve?
Deputy Mayor Montgomery.
Thank you. So I think that would be something that I think administration would have to speak to, as to like, and if what you say is correct, that they can, say start a bit later. Because my concern is always just like them running past basically, 4:30. Yeah, exactly. And so I would like to, I guess, minimize, like staff, working in overtime in whatever that means. So if it means, if they can work till, 5:30 without incurring overtime, then, that's acceptable to me. So it's just whatever is going to be kind of the, like minimize, I guess, the extra costs most effectively and reduce, I guess, yeah, like, so, and I would, yeah, just whatever is going to be the most cost effective and efficient.
Sorry, Your Worship, and conducive to doing business, I think, and respectful. Yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Montgomery and Councillor Peterson, for that. Moving forward, I have to express, or I have to say that I'm a bit confused, because when we did the whole amendment at the start of the meeting, I was under the impression that the notice of motion was to possibly vote tonight. But is that not the case? Is it coming to which meeting then?
It's just that the bylaw was come back.
It's to bring this back. We are voting to bring this back.
Deputy Montgomery. Deputy Montgomery.
Well, so the way it was explained to me is that we are bringing the procedural bylaw back anyways to make amendments to, so this amendment would be included as part of those amendments. And then if that passes, then this would become.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. And like many proposals for amendments to bylaws, there are potential for options. Thank you.
Mr. Thackeray?
If I may, I'd just like to clarify council's intention on the motion. As I understand your intention, Councillor Montgomery, through the chair, is you wish to have a proposed change to have committee meetings at a different time of day. There are some options, and council has highlighted some options here tonight. If council agrees, then that could move forward, and there could be a bylaw amendment which would be brought forward on the 18th of September. So there's kind of three steps. The first step being amending the agenda, which you completed tonight, discussing the possibility of changing the times, which you've discussed tonight, and the instrument to do that is through the procedure bylaw, which would be held at a subsequent meeting. And if so, is there, of the options, which I've heard a few options, 3:45, 4 o'clock, there was an option for your proposal is 1 o'clock. Would you like us to include all three of those options and maybe the pros and cons of those three options in the report for the 18th?
Deputy Mayor Montgomery.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And I guess, yeah, like, and even if you could, like, using your own, I guess, analysis, like, if you could, if there's a time that isn't mentioned that kind of you think works best, as far as, like, starting staff, later, if there's a window that you think makes sense for a start time, then I would be interested to hear that.
Councillor Peterson.
I think even as important as that is the goals that Councillor Montgomery has referenced in doing this, and the goals that other councillors have, or the concerns that other councillors have brought forward. So Number one is understanding in the two options that might come forward, what the savings would be, and what the efficiencies might be, and how both of those could be achieved respectfully. I think those three things are really important when the options come forward.
Thank you very much for that. Savings, efficiency, and sorry. Respect, thank you. So we do have a motion on the floor. You've all heard the motion. Just before we vote, I just want to thank all of council for carrying on this discussion in what could be a contentious issue for some of us, but being able to discuss this in a really good, positive, respectful way. So I appreciate all of you. You've had a motion on the floor. All in favor? And against? So we have 5 in favor and 2 against to have it brought forward. Okay, thank you. And thank you, councillors.
Excuse me, can I
Mr.
just,
Thackeray?
that was, the motion was for 3 options to be proposed, 2 options. Okay, thank you.
But if you come up with a third, we will share.
And the third, because there was, do we have an alternative?
So you go
Yeah, so yes,
1
yes.
o'clock, 4 o'clock.
And something else? Okay.
Councillor Sobel.
Not to muddy the water here, but the motion is actually, sorry, I don't
Doesn't have time
The motion is actually for 1 o'clock.
It is.
That's what the motion is. And with a request to provide other
Other
possibilities,
options.
At which time we could amend the motion if the motion maker so desires.
That's what I want, thank you, I just wanted to clarify that.
And just to reassure all council, there are still going to be plenty of opportunities to discuss and argue and work through this as we come forward. This is just coming to us to consider. Once again, thank you all. Which brings us to item 10.2, bylaw number 19-11, 2019 borrowing bylaw and the return of Mel Teedy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw 1911 provides for funding of water, sewer, and projects contained within the 2019 capital budget, along with Strathmore Commons enhancements, including pathways, landscaping features, and amenities. Council gave first reading to this bylaw July 10th. Following first reading, the bylaw was advertised August 9th and 16th. No commentary from the public was received by administration. This project is being leveraged by the advantages in the report on construction management contract and the very low interest rates. If there ever is a time to borrow for this project, the time is now, while interest rates are on sale, you might say. The estimated interest rate, if we were to borrow today, would be between 2.3 and 2.5%. One additional motion I would ask that council consider would be for council to authorize the mayor and CAO to sign documentation to complete the borrowing. And those are my comments. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mel? Councillor Peterson?
I don't have a question ready with a motion. Your
Okay.
Worship. So I move that council gives second reading to bylaw number 19-11, 2019 borrowing bylaw, and to, at this point, include authorization? Or that just needs to be in third reading? Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you for that motion for second reading, and that allows us to do any discussion if people have comments they'd like to make concerning this. Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Councillor Corbeil.
I move the council give third and final reading to bylaw number 19-11, 2019 borrowing bylaw.
Thank you. Thank you. Just for clarification, there's going to be a third or another motion following that deals with it. Has to be done separately. So we have a motion for third and final reading to bylaw number 19-11. All in favor? And the motion is carried. Councillor Corbeil.
I move the council authorize the mayor and CAO to sign borrowing documentation to complete the borrowing.
Thank you very much for that motion. You've all heard that motion. All in favor? And the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr. Teedy. That brings us to item 11, urgent business. I don't believe we have urgent business. Number 12, questions between councillors and/or council statements. Seeing none? Whoa, Councillor Sobel, sorry.
Your worship, I just wish to bring to the public's attention that on Monday, September 16th, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., and Tuesday, September 17th, from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m., there will be a workshop held at the Strathmore Royal Canadian Legion on 2nd Avenue in Strathmore. The speaker will be Michael von Hausen, who brings 35 years of experience to share on as a planner and a developer. This effort is focused on obtaining opinions and providing information to our residents in regards to our downtown Strathmore, our Highway 1 corridor development, land use redevelopment, beautification, wayfinding, and a sense of place. Anybody interested in seeing and knowing how our town is going to might grow in the future, might want to consider attending this very exciting event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor
Yep.
Sobel.
Once again, sorry, I'll just repeat that. September 16th, Monday, September 16th, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Tuesday, September 17th, 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sobel. Councillor Peterson.
Your worship, I would like to offer sincere congratulations and thanks to the firefighters and their staff who dedicated their time to putting on the summer camp. It's a remarkable community building activity, and I just want to offer my most sincere congratulations to the group that you brought together. Really remarkable, and well done. And my second question is to Mr. Teedy, and that is, I got a question, community question, whether or not nonprofits have in Strathmore are allowed tax breaks.
If you're referring to property taxes,
I believe that was what they were referring to, Mr. Teedy.
we have no policy in place to allow for that, but I would be interested
They can contact you.
in having a discussion and understanding more about that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I just wanted to give my sincere thank you to all of you for your kind words, as well as all of your food. It was fabulous. Thank you very, very, very much. As well to the managers for their kind gift. It was greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Cox, and again, welcome back. We're glad to see you feeling well. Yes. Feisty, that's right. Feisty as usual. Item 13, administrative inquiries. Do we have any, Deb?
May I have,
Oh, Councillor Bauer, sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to extend a thank you to Strathmore's radio station, Strathmore Country 104.5, for doing a fundraiser for the Strathmore Overnight Shelter at the Pavilion on August 30th. They were there from 11 to 1 p.m. In that time, it was called Dogs for a Cause. People were asked to come down, purchase a hot dog and a pop, and make a donation to the Strathmore Overnight Shelter. I'm pleased to let you know that $400 was raised for the shelter. And I just would like to extend my congratulations to them and the shelter. There will be many clients that will be able to receive so much love from that gift from the radio station, and thank you for their involvement in our community.
I got one more, sorry.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bauer. Welcome back, Councillor Cox again.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I just got to put out this so it's in the public as well as the rest of you. I am running for the Cure on October 6th. I have a team called Terrific Tatas. If you're interested, you can sign up to run with me or donate to my cause. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cox.
Your Worship.
Good for you to get involved like that. Tracy Simpson?
I was wondering if you might allow me to just make an announcement about an event happening next week, even though I'm not a counselor and this is your time. Would that be okay? This is a new event that we're hosting in town, and it's a partnership between Strathmore FCSS, the Strathmore Child, Youth and Family Hub, as well as Alberta Health Services and Mental Health. Next Tuesday is the World Awareness Day for Suicide Prevention, and we are hosting a candlelight vigil in Kinsman Park at 7 p.m. for anyone who is a survivor or been affected by suicide. This is the first time we've hosted this kind of event in our community, and it's also in support of advertising for our suicide bereavement group that we are starting in Strathmore. So if anyone has any interest in passing that information on, it is on our social media sites for you.
Thank you very much for that, Tracy. Sure.
It's Tuesday, September 10th,
Councillor.
7 p.m.
Tracy, is that follow-up group that you're talking about, is that the one that's related to the, what's the group over here? Not Parent Link, the, oh my goodness, the health, the health initiative
Yes,
one?
it's in partnership with the health
Very
unit.
good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councillor Sobel.
I don't know how I forgot this one, but September 15th, Sunday, September 15th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., our town is hosting the 2019 Strathmore Terry Fox Run. And I cannot say thanks enough to administration, members of administration that have taken this on. I know there will be councillor members, the mayor will be there, and I really encourage everyone to attend. And if you can't attend, make sure you donate some money to this amazing cause. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
I would only comment that today we have to make a slight change to the Terry Fox planning due to the dredging of Kinsman Lake. And so the start and end of the race will now be in Lambert Park, and you'll see notices going out tomorrow about that.
Thank you for that, Tracy. Any other comments or questions or things from councillors' statements? That brings us to item 13, administrative inquiries. We have no administrative inquiries. Then at this point, I'm looking for a motion to go back in camera. Councillor Corbeil?
I move we go in camera.
Thank you, and we're going in camera at 8:42. Oh, sorry, all in favor? That's midnight, by the way. All in favor? Yeah, we're all carried. We're going in camera at 8:42. Thank you.